You're looking at Frostbite, which is one of the grand prize winners from the Foldable Flight Paper Airplane Designers Contest, and it is designed by Aleks, Karlson, and Vanguard Studios. Congratulations to both of you for your amazing submission and for winning a customized trophy featuring your name on it and an image of Frostbite. Now you can see the plane looks amazing as it is. It has an air intake, tail fins, afterburners. This thing is incredible. But if you support me on patreon.com/foldableflight, you can download and print off a template that takes that appearance even to another level. So let's see it in flight, and then I'll teach you how to fold it. All you will need in order to fold Frostbite is a square sheet of paper. If this is your first time folding the plane, I recommend something big like a 10 by 10 square, but you can use smaller squares as well. And we're going to begin with the colored side up if you have two-sided paper, and fold from this corner to this corner. Okay, and we can open the paper up and flip it over, and now fold your other corners to land on each other like this, making a crease spanning those other two corners. Okay, and with that, we're going to kind of open up this right side here, fold it like that, and squash fold. And we'll flip the paper over and do the same thing, standing this flat and opening it up and squash folding. Okay, now we'll fold this point to there. And we'll fold this edge here into the center. Same thing on this side. And then we'll go ahead and open the paper up and kind of stand this up and fold in just like that on either side, like so. And we can again squash this using those existing creases but reversing them into this position here. Okay, and your plane should look like this. Now we're going to fold this edge into the center. Do the same thing on the other side as well. And then we will pedal fold. I'm going to rotate this and basically fold from that point to that point there as we pull this forward. And as you push both sides in, you should be able to fold right to your center crease as you swing that forward just like that. And then take this flap and fold it down. And now I'm going to rotate it back into this position here as I open all this up and even unfold there, and unfold there. And now I want to reverse this crease to make it a valley, this crease right here to make it a valley, I'm not making any new creases, just reversing those. And I'll do the same thing on this side. And having done that, I can kind of start to swing right. I'm going to reverse that as well, turn that into a valley. So you can kind of see where the paper's wanting to fold, and I can close my sides up right along that crease there, and I end up with this triangle kind of standing out just like that. I'll push that to the side, and now flip the whole model over. Okay, let's stand this flap up and squash fold. And I'll fold this here to the center. Unfold that and just flip this whole thing to the right. And then I'll squash fold this flap here. And fold this edge to the center. And unfold that. And now we're going to flip the paper back over to look at the side that has this triangle. And basically I want to fold from this point here where the triangle is emerging to this point down here. By opening this up, I kind of hold the paper, this layer here, right at that point. And I'm opening the paper up all the way into this pocket and then folding to that point there. Okay, and I'll do the same thing on this side, just holding the paper right at that point and folding to this point here. Okay, so your plane should look like this, and we're now going to flatten it right along this layer there, and so you can see it's off center. I'm going to flatten it just like that, and then use this crease to fold this back up and continue that crease all the way across, just like that. And then I'll unfold that, open it back up to this position, flatten it using that crease in this direction, and now continue this crease here all the way across. And now finally I'm going to open it back up and flatten it so that this point here lands on my center crease. Just like that. And now you're going to need to find this crease here and this crease here that intersect. So you can kind of see as I fold on that, kind of where that crease is headed. I'm going to fold that forward, and that's going to create a pocket that I need to flatten. I'm going to gently flatten it right like this. So this layer should go all the way right to the center crease if you keep that perfectly straight. Just like so. And then I can open it up right like that. And I'll do the same thing on this side now, folding along this crease to open it. There's our pocket. I'm flattening the pocket now. And there we go. Now I can open the pocket back up, or open that portion back up to this position. So your plane should look like this now. And I'm going to fold this point here right to that intersection of those creases. Open it up. Fold this point almost to that crease I just made, but leave just a little gap. And then fold in again, this time just about to that crease we have there. and then fold that forward on that crease. Okay, and now we can fold in on that and in on this at the same time to make a rabbit ear. That's going to mean this portion of the center crease reverses as we do that. And you can see you end up with that little triangle in the middle, and you can fold that triangle back and forth like so. So it can stand up vertically. Right now, we're not going to worry about its orientation. And we're going to have to do some reversing of creases here. So you can see we have the pocket on this side. We want to actually flip it, and we're going to basically poke on that point so it goes in the opposite direction, but effectively what you're doing is you're reversing this crease here. And then you can see once it's kind of wanting to do that, you also reverse that crease right there, right over that edge. And that's perfect. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm kind of poking on that point to reverse this crease. Make sure that you don't trap and tear that layer there. Let that fold, and you're going to reverse this crease right here also. So you can see what it looks like from the bottom. You can see what it looks like from the top. Awesome job if you have made it this far. So I'm going to put it back in this orientation here and fold now this whole flap from that point right there down to this corner. Just opening that up. Right like so. I'll do the same thing on this side. All the way to this point here. And I'm going to leave these layers in this position before I forget another step. Actually, let's unfold back to this. And we're going to do something to reinforce the nose of the plane here. Basically, I'm opening this layer up, and I'm going to fold this edge to that crease. You can't crease it very far back doing this. You're kind of holding the paper in this weird way. Just crease to about there, and then put it all back in place. We'll do the same thing on this side. Opening this up, creasing it about to that same point. You're taking the edge to that existing crease you have. Right like that. And then laying this back in place. And now, if I basically hold this wing closed right at this point, I can pinch this right along that existing crease I have. And I'm taking this layer under itself. Here, this is kind of sloppy. Give me just a moment to make it right, and then I'll explain how I did it. Okay, so you can see what it's supposed to look like there. As I do the second side, let's see if I can explain it a little better. So I'm holding this right like this and flipping this under itself on that existing crease and kind of allowing the paper to do exactly what it needs to then flatten back out, and then I push it flat once I'm content with my placement of those creases. I know it's a little tricky, but hopefully you're able to figure it out. And if you can't figure out, the good news is that's not a crucial step. You can totally fold this plane without doing that. And now let's pay attention again to these areas. So we folded these out. These are going to become the tail fins. And now we're folding this edge here to there. And then fold this point back up. And basically we're making a crease from this point here. And we're landing this edge on the edge behind it. Just like that. We'll do the same thing here, this to there. And now folding this triangle forward, right like this. Okay, and we will unfold there, unfold here, and now we're going to do some crease reversals. So I'm going to open this side up, right like this. So you can see I'm pulling it there. This crease is in the correct orientation, and so is the second one. But this crease will have to be reversed, and this crease will have to be reversed. So I set it down the way it wants to go, and then sorry, it's this crease here and that crease. So now, here, I'll open that back up. The first 3 creases are all good. We reverse this one here, and you reverse that crease right there to set it in this orientation. And then you can kind of open this up and fold right along that existing crease you have there and tuck that in, and it'll look like this. Okay? And we'll do the same thing over here. So if that was tricky, you'll get to see it again. First 3 creases are in the correct orientation. So fold there, leave that like that, fold there, and now you've got to reverse this crease here, and then that last crease as well, to get it to lie in this orientation, and then you just open those layers back up enough to tuck this in, just like that. Okay, and while we have it in this position here, we're now going to fold from this point and landing this point along this line right here. Just like that. We'll do the same thing on this side. And we can unfold those and flip our plane over. And now we're going to do a petal fold. You can see we've got these creases here, so hold off on the petal fold. Let's pull that triangle in so that it'll collapse like this, and do the same thing on this side here. So when you close it, you can see that triangle is coming forward. And now we're ready to petal fold, and our crease will go straight across from this point here to this point here. So you're just kind of pulling this forward, and this point here will go all the way to the nose of the plane. And that's going to bring a lot of layers into this open position that doesn't really want to lie flat yet. But you can start to fold in on this side, and you'll notice you're going to have to do a little manipulation of this pocket here as you do that. But basically you want to swing this in and allow that pocket to start forming in such a way that you can swing that layer all the way to the center. And you can go ahead, once you do have that, you can crease this little edge right here. And then you can shape this pocket again, kind of just gently opening it. And you're going to start with pulling this tight to that corner. And once you've found exactly where that point is, you can pull this all the way forward and crease that all the way to the center. Obviously, I know my hands were kind of in the way. I'll try to do the second side in a way that's more visible for you. So I'm pushing this into the center, and you can see my pocket's a mess. So I'm going to kind of open this up just a little bit, and now try folding into the center. And now I'm content with where that's headed, so I can actually crease this into that pocket, just kind of sliding my finger along that edge. And now I've got to fix the pocket from this side. I can open it up, and I want this edge to go straight to that point, so I'm finding that. And then I crease this all the way to that side there. And you can see I didn't get my 2 sides perfectly identical, but that's going to be fine. I could even adjust this side slightly if I need to. Just like that. And there you go. We're getting really close at this point. I say that, but I'm sure there's probably still 7 or 10 minutes in the video. But let's go ahead and fold this point here to that point right there. And now your crease is going to start at this point, and basically you're folding this edge so it lands on itself. So it will look something like this. You can see there, this edge lands on itself. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So my crease starts there. Right like that. And with the paper in this position, I'm going to kind of release that blue paper from behind that trap there. And then I can push it forward and land it like this. Okay, and I want to do the same thing on the other side, and to do that I'm probably going to have to swing this over to the other side, and I'm releasing the paper, holding this flat and pulling that part forward just like that, and it should look like this. We have this nice little triangle which we can now squash fold, and this is going to become the cockpit of the plane, which is nicely color changed from the rest of the model. Okay, and now we're going to rotate it into this position, open it up right here, and you can fold in like this to the center, in like this to the center, and you can make this hold a little better if you can actually open that pocket there and get it to swivel for you. That can be really hard with a small bit of paper, but can you see how if I close both sides up here, there's more tab on this side than this side that will lock that behind. Let's see if I can get the other side again. At 10-inch paper, you can maybe use your fingers, but something smaller, you'd have to use tweezers or something like this to get it into place properly. But that's not a crucial step either if you just want to fold into center. And then we can swing that forward again. And we are getting close here. Now we are folding right along this edge here, and we're going to do what's called a spread squash with this. And so see if your paper will naturally spread the way mine will. When you hold your fingers right like this, kind of forcing that pocket open and tap down like that, and you can see mine's not really doing it very well. So you can kind of prep a spread squash by folding this edge gently to this edge here. I'm not even making a firm crease. And then I open that up, force it wide, and it's still not really working, which means I gotta pull and apply some tension to it. Pull here, apply some tension to it, and there you can see it's finally starting to spread squash for me. It's a really kind of tricky fold if it's something you haven't done before, but hopefully you are capable of following along. And I want to land this crease here right along that crease behind it. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm opening this up. We can test again to see if it's naturally wanting to break at the right point. It's not really, so I'm going to gently fold it right like that. And see, this side is working well for me, but this side isn't, so I've got to kind of pull this paper right here and apply some tension to it. And we're getting there. And now I land this crease right along that edge there. And your plane should look like this. Now I'm sorry to say we've got a sink fold ahead of us. Basically we need to sink this half of the spread squash behind. And there are a couple ways you can do that. I recommend gently opening up your paper and finding that point inside the paper. That's the point right there. You can see that's that point. And then from this position, poking it and forcing it through, and you're going to reverse this crease here. And that was a successful sink. I know that's kind of tricky. Hopefully you were able to follow that, but you're going to get to see it again if that wasn't clear enough. I'm finding this point here on the inside of the paper, and you can see that's the point deep in there, but I'm trying to loosely open up everything else enough that I can access that easily from this side without putting a ton of tension on everything else. And then I poke it here. I'm poking that point right there, and I'm going to be reversing this crease right there as well. And so there, I'm just trying to get that point through, and you can see that's my point. We're good, but we've got to reverse this crease and that crease that heads to the point to get it to actually all be nice and clean again. And I gotta also get that to bubble all the way out to that point there. It's really easy to tear your paper in that step, but there you go. You can see that is a successful sink, and I'm lying the paper back down in this position here. And unfortunately, that is a necessary step if you want to lock this all together in the end. Okay, so now we're going to flip the paper over, look at it from this angle, and fold this edge here just a little bit past that edge. So we're starting at this point here and going a little bit past this edge here, right like that. And you can tuck that in under those layers and do the same thing here. Tuck that in under all the other layers. And now let's go ahead and work on the wings a little bit. So we can fold this edge here right to the edge of this white layer. Leave just a tiny gap maybe. Do the same thing on this side. Okay, and we're going to be folding these in, reinforcing the leading edges of the wings, just like that. And do the same thing on this side. And now we will flip this over, rotate it into this position. I'm going to pull this flap forward, and I want to crease so that the new edge I make lands right along the edge of this blue layer here and goes right to that corner. Just like that. I'll do that on this side as well. Okay, now I'm going to open this up, and I want to pull this open. It can be a little tricky because you can see you've got multiple layers there, but basically you're opening this pocket right to this point down here, and you're going to create a crease from that point to the edge of the wing tip right there, while swinging this forward. You can see, so I'm basically making sure my crease goes right to that point before I worry about how the pocket flattens. That's going to be my guide. And once I've got that crease running all the way into the pocket corner, I can kind of swing this forward and flatten it as it will naturally flatten when you take all the tension in this direction. Okay, let's do that on this side as well. Open the pocket all the way to that point, fold from that point to this point here. And then you can flatten it out just like that. Okay, open this right like that. And we're going to fold this edge in thirds. So you basically want to divide the angle between this and that edge into thirds. And for the first fold, I like to do just a little gap between this fold and the corner, and estimate maybe even just a little less than a third. And then I do my second fold to that crease. This is just adding some strength to the wing as we fold that forward again. And then you've got another pocket. Hold this down, or pocket, I mean flap rather. And you open it right along this crease here, and now fold this edge to that existing crease you have. Just like so. And you can see the shape of our wing on this side. It's looking good. It's reinforced and everything. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm opening it up along that crease, folding this into thirds in this angle, going toward that wingtip so I can fold in a second time. And then fold in like that. And now we are opening this up along that crease and folding this here, again going to the tip of the plane, the tip of the fin this time, and fold that to your existing crease. And let it rest just like this. Okay. We are now going to actually prepare to fold the wings and then make the jet fold. So let's go ahead and stand what will be our tail at the back of the plane. And then fold the whole wing up right along this edge. Do the same thing on this side. Okay, and now we're going to make our jet fold. Pay attention to this point right here where this pocket ends. That's going to be an important point as we make our jet fold here. Basically, I'm going to fold from this point right here where the rabbit ear is at the front of the rabbit ear, to this point here. But as I do that, look for this point right there and make sure that it is inside the plane. Okay, and I'll do the same crease on the other side. Okay, and now you can see you are prepared to do a jet fold, just like this, and bring everything together, and you can lie it flat on the table just like this. Kind of smooth everything out, and you can see once it's closed just what the plane's going to look like, but we need to actually lock it together. And to do that, you can see we've got this pocket and a tab on the other side, just like it. And basically, as you close this up, you want to swing the tab and tuck it into the pocket on the other side. That's going to be the start of locking it together. And then you're going to go under the plane and swing this out of the way. And we're basically rolling these layers up. So I like to kind of take this and fold this layer right over the layer behind it, up into the plane like that, and then take and roll this all the way up to the top of the plane. So that layer is going all the way up into the model. So again, I'm getting this layer here out of the way, like that. It doesn't have to be exactly like that. And then folding this layer, that layer, by the way, those layers together are the pocket and the tab. Make sure they're locked together. And then fold those, once your pocket and tab are together, fold those all the way up into the model. Just like that. And you can see that locks everything together. So now we just have a little bit of shaping to do and we are done with this plane. You can see my wings are nice and level and everything, but we want those afterburners. We want the air intake at the front. So the air intake's a little bit tricky. You're going to want to open this up and actually kind of pull on it, pull it away from the body of the plane just a little bit, which can allow it to take that more circular shape in the back. And then you can, of course, round this in the way that you want. If you pull it too far away and make it too big, that can add a lot of drag to the plane. But of course, the point of making this plane is it looks amazing and flies well, and this is one of the coolest parts of it. So make sure that you get the the air intake to look really nice, just like that. So now we're going to shape the afterburners of the plane, and you can see I'm just folding them right along the edge of the layer beside them. And then I'm going to use a pin. You can use whatever you want just to force those open, and you can kind of roll them in the shape you want. Just like that. And of course you can make them more round than I've got them here, but you understand the principle behind that. And with that, we're just going to set our wings at the correct angle here. You want them nice and flat across the back. You can adjust the way the tail stands. You can have it vertical, you can have the angle slightly outward on either side. And with that, thank you so much for watching this video, and good luck flying your plane. Thank you so much to all of my patrons who are supporting this channel and making these videos possible. I'm now releasing a new tier where you can become the pilot of your favorite foldable flight paper airplane, and your name will appear next to the paper airplane you choose in each of my YouTube videos. So head over to patreon.com/foldableflight and join the Foldable fleet today.